Welcome everyone to another round of Deadlock Fight Night. Kicking things off with EU. I'm ZP here with Jason. We got two challenging teams every week. The winner of the teams in our challenging match go on to face our champion in a best of threes. So you get three teams in each region, three in EU, three in NA. And as you mentioned, Jason, we've already seen some turnover where Pojilaya Skumbriya came in hot last week and they took down the champions of Buff Enjoyers. Deadlock Fight Night is proud to present our new line of merch. One of the best ways you can support this broadcast and help us keep the lights on is to get gooped. Available in t-shirt and sweatshirt variants, getting gooped directly supports the Deadlock Fight Night brand and helps us ensure that we can keep paying players and put on this production for you. We think it's pretty funny. Hopefully you do too. So go ahead, buy a shirt that you'll have a pretty hard time explaining to people. Head over to deadlockfightnight.com and order today. Jason already bought three. So it's a very interesting early matchup here, and already some names here. I know you got a lot to talk about for some of the members of DMS, especially Play With Me.
I have a lot of expectations for this team. They also have some really good players. I mean, ZP, you're probably going to recognize Elevote just because he played in the OWL under Washington Justice. I know I mentioned it before, but it really does kind of control the positions that you can play from. And like we saw last week, dealing with Wallets on the Bebop, if teams are smart, you just don't fight in areas where great talent can really punish you. So I'm curious to see how DMS are going to work around this, obviously with how strong great talent is, but this is going to Interesting. Shallowy to get close here, considering how the early game was going to McLovin. He should be going down. The stun landed.
17 a lot of tower damage. Can't finish the job just yet. Needs one more shot. Drops the lightning ball. No way. No way. McLovin
and the owl
gets away. The owl. Lock again, aggro. Warps on all. Runs into the Abrams. Or more accurately, the Abrams runs into him. Yeah, the fighting close quarters too versus the Abrams. Dangerous business at best, but here we go. Wall is down. Elbow looking for a swap, and the chaos is up close and personal. And DMS very happy with this fight. Huge value off the guys. Elbow dashing around, but the guys just in Abrams together. Jason, yeah, Ashley target number one. No shelter even able to be used. You see here, DMS on the hunt. McLovin chased down. Restus moving to and fro. Soul Exchange still on deck. 6v4 right now for DMS as they look to put this one away. High pressure onto the Geist. Rescue beam, not enough to save.
Just his charge shots almost alone, putting out a lot of damage.
Well, I think they want a good swap to start things off, but right, they open things up. Abrams, seismic slam, dives on in. Looking for Elevote. They get rid of Elevote real early. 2 down, and now they can just move to the pit here, Jason, and finish it all out.
The Paradox just got demolished there like a ragdoll, and that will indeed do it. DMS gonna finish things off, advance once again here to the grand finals to play up against Pojilaya Skumbriya as they take down Deadlock Dudes in quick fashion.
Yeah, great play coming in from DMS. You take a look at the stats here, and you wonder, okay, well, is Talon now going to be a big pick? Well, look at the damage that WZQT put in on the Talon. I mean, we saw it, just sort of the eye test in the middle of the game, but my word, even for a team that ends up losing the game by 50k souls, you cannot deny the impact that WZQT had on Talon. Take a quick look, Dan, at our player of the match. And player of the match, this was a tough call across the board for DMS because it was pretty much a team effort. But Psycho, 13 on the Yamato. And Psycho is also, we've just seen him play Yamato pretty much in every tournament since Deadlock has begun, even all the way back to the Aurora Masters. And we're back here at Deadlock Fight Night. Of course, if you're just tuning in, we just had our EU Challengers match where DMS, in a hotly contested match, takes out Deadlock Dudes for their right to fight for being the king of Europe against Pojilaya Skumbriya. Well, we're talking about players, but let's bring up the rosters and get a full breakdown on who's playing what, where this is more of an issue in NA, where NA, last week we had teams changing up their roster up to about 30 minutes before the day began. That was fun for me in relaying the production, but in this case, DMS not changing anything up from map to map, and Pojilaya Skumbriya, well, they're running the same roster as last week, because why would you change what works, Dan?
I'm kind of curious, like, what's the mindset of Pojilaya Skumbriya here and what they want to kind of focus on? And as I look down, because I'm staring in DDK's eyes too much, we do see the Infernus and Paradox bands come through. I would like to see, like, one more hero picked up potentially to help out. I almost don't hate Lash for some reason, just to be able to grab people that get to him and throw them away, though I don't know how well it's going to fit into this composition. But the pocket picks, I still don't know how I feel about the pockets right now.
That feels like it's kind of missing to me in this comp at the moment. So I was really surprised to see the pocket because of that fact. I would have expected to see something a bit more tanky, and then maybe if you're going to pick up something that's more damaging, like an Abrams, because you want something that's a bit tanky that does the damage and gets in.
I think the thing that's going to really dictate the terms of this match, Dan, it's going to be where do you fight and how do you fight in an area that you want to fight in. A lot of presence right now for both teams in lane 2 Sunset. For an opportunity here on the Wraith. Telekinesis at the ready. For now, pressure onto the pocket. Waits for the briefcase to be done. Drops the telekinesis. Is fall through going to be there? Wolfie's able to shake the pressure. Meanwhile, Saf rolling around. Goo ball. Bouncing to and fro. Not really hitting anything in the same way, but bounces up and over. Finds the 7. Now 7. Storm Cloud. Not enough. Actually, a very smart response versus diving in to McGinnis in close quarters at the situation. So it all comes down to the mid-boss fight. Telekinesis gets a bunch, sheltered down in return. Saf under pressure, Goo ball or no, nearly falls, gets bursted down from PS. PS still very, very healthy. Daniel's already used combo. The damage is in, 2 down from DMS as PS just works the outskirts of the mid-boss. Jason, this could be one of the greatest comebacks ever on Deadlock Fight Night.
It was one player getting caught, it was Preston, and they committed 3 ultimates. In front of that, they lost so much control.
Nice Q. Q comes out early. Saves after combo, but the damage is still overwhelming from the outskirts. Sunset and Litz lay it on in with Hardeki. DMS just gets poked from the outside. Costo not an early telekinesis in turn. Zania gets picked off. Sunset wasn't here for the opening, was instead putting an urn. Now telekinesis comes in, goes onto the ball. Frozen Shelter out at the same time. Pressure onto Geist. Oh, but yeah, Jason, I think they have time. It's going to be close if nothing else. Now damage on to the Patron. And I say close, nix that. This one's probably over. Ivy's not going to be able to delay. That Patron's going to be attackable in 10 seconds. DMS, they get themselves out of the fire that they threw themselves into.
Oh man, here we go. Patron about to descend here. Still 20 seconds on the pretty big carry. Sunset 34, Hardeki 18. Patron comes down. They're just going to full focus this. What can Together possibly do to delay this? It's down to 50% HP. It's continuing to fall here, and DMS on the brink of losing that first map. Pull it back. They had a 55k soul lead down to 18k.
And you take a look at the stats here. Everything you just said, Ivy, is also borne out in the reality when you look at who was doing damage for PS. But I think the other thing you gotta look at here too, and what enabled PS to nearly make the comeback, even though it's, you look at the stats and you go, oh, what did they really do? I thought Zanya had incredible play on the Mo and Krill, where yeah, even being pretty broke towards the end, still finding ways to make impactful plays, getting the right combo at the right time. Deadlock Fight Night continues here at our finals match, and what a map one we just saw, Jason. It had it all. It had nearly the biggest comeback we've ever seen. It had 2 urns, 1 turn-in point. Like, what more do you need, Jason?
2 urns, 1 team, man. 2 urns, 1 turn-in. I was laughing at the beginning because our producer's like, okay, 3, 2, 1, you're hot. And I was like, oh, stop it, you. Yeah, man, that game, if you guys missed it, you have to go back and watch it because that was insane. And it had everything in it: comebacks, downfalls, individual plays, everything. But that just gets me more hype for what's going to be coming up next, man, because we could have DMS dethrone Pojilaya Skumbriya, the shortest, I don't know what you call it, the shortest empire or shortest reign dynasty that we've had in the Deadlock Fight Night. But you know what? I wouldn't count PS out because they definitely showed they could come back as well in that last match.
I've seen a lot of players now start to time and optimize the barrels and the statues, and so they're actually, like, Sevens are now pathing out all of these things with the timings in mind. And I've seen Lefa, for example, like get it close to like 3k souls a minute with 7 and using pathing and timing correctly.
We are getting into game DMS versus PS. DMS on the verge of becoming a new champion here in EU Deadlock Fight Night, which would be incredible turnover. But PS, they nearly had the best comeback we have ever seen and clearly want to defend the crown.
Oh, South coming. He's going for the gank in lane 1. They're going to try to punish here. Yeah. Flame Dash is being used as well. He's going to have no escape here, but he gets the kill on a Psycho before Saf could even get there.
Yeah, the timing was a little bit odd. No. Concussive Combustion forces out the cube. Owl, that's cheating. You can't bring in the owl there. Oh, no way. Goes in. Is it going to happen? No. He's out fishing right now, Jason. Low HP in lane, was looking for the soul exchange, gets the soul exchange. tries to reel in the haze. Return fire up, and the fish might be fighting back, as it turns out. But you look at the main map, you see Hardeki just sitting in the middle with Soul Exchange up. You go, okay, I know what's going to happen here. And doesn't quite work out as planned. Meanwhile, Yamato, McGinnis, down in the single vault building. Psycho just laying away. Health station keeping McGinnis alive, but for how long? They're going back and forth, goes for the parry, does not connect. And Psycho finishes it off. I'm not even sure it's a bait. You have McGinnis, you can get turrets up here, and this is a dangerous fight. The Lash ult isn't up yet, though, Jason. That's the ridiculous thing about this. If they're going, they drop the wall. Are they going to get it? They do. PS! They get the raw mid-bust. They kill Saf. Saf goes in and just gets a face full of turret. Is he going to get the Yamato? Hardeki got the soul exchange off. Psycho's getting real low. Between the two, Hardeki, though, finally falls. Psycho's able to get away. Nearly does a soul exchange play at the end. So now Hardeki's coming back into the fight. Rejuvenator coming on down. Is there going to be a McGinnis wall coming on in here? Yes, do they go for it? They drop on in. DMS, though, secures the rejuve. Steal attempt does not come into play. DMS could be dethroning PS after just 1 week. Final Four of the Patron is getting absolutely chunked down, and that is gonna be it. DMS are your new champions of Europe. They dethrone Pojilaya Skumbriya, and they do it in style. You know, we talk about how PS nearly had one of the biggest comebacks of all time in map 1, but DMS's consistency, Jason, just has to be applauded.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like there's so many great individual plays that we saw.
We got to talk about the player of the match for DMS, and that is the one, the only, might be Jason's favorite player on that team. It's Play With Me. And Play With Me impressed again this week, Jason, where, you know, last time around it wasn't enough for DMS to take it all. This time around, though, Play With Me just looked super solid all series long.
I'm kind of curious what TF2 Boomers are going to turn up today with, because they've been one of the teams that have had multiple rosters, but they have a lot of great players, and you know, Deathy is sort of he is the captain. I feel like I don't know if he is in the team the captain, but in my brain I'm going to call him the captain.
Well, Jason, I've also heard rumors with Deathy where Deathy is actually just, you know, DDoSing members of other teams in DFN, because Deathy just somehow ends up as substituting every week, even with TF2 Boomers not being around. So at some point you have to wonder, is Deathy being the good-natured sub, or is Deathy just actually the agent of chaos? And, you know, frankly, I'm down for the latter. You know,
Deathy's a good guy. I don't want to build him up to be this evil force, though he might be.
He has death in his name.
Yeah, it's true. I will point out, though, Zach, actually, Z4K has been replaced on the team. He's actually Salty going to be playing instead of him. So a little bit of a roster mania for TF2 Boomers. But the Unknown Omens, for all of you out there who might not recognize these players, I mean, DDK, you have to recognize Dapper, Valorant player with the Sentinels.
A lot of people did expect to see some Smite players in Deadlock, so Unknown Omens sort of fill that prophecy, and I'm excited to see what this matchup is going to be, because I feel like every week, Jason, you continue to see things changing up in regards to what teams are good, what teams are bad.
This is like the time to really get your name out there, to really get you know, ingrained in the community, and of course build yourself up as a player, because who knows if you're going to be a top player 6 months from now, a year from now. You got to put in the groundwork now.
Well, we'll have to see how it all plays out here as we get going. And TF2 Boomers, can they have another crack at the whip to try to take the title? They've obviously had a few roster shuffles just based on who's available at a given time, but definitely great players.
The Guardian about to be taken out. Guys, looking for the Lash, decent damage, dives on in. Soul Exchange still at the ready. If you're in Furnace right now, you want to get enough damage, but you don't want to get swapped. Swap? Presumably about to come in, waiting till last moment, no swap on Mirror Man, and just gets melted in turn.
Oh, this is a great play, though, because with the shift pressure and viscous pressure on this Walker, that might free up the urn drop-off, and that looks exactly like what's going to happen. So using some pressure to create some space there, but they have to get out. They have to disengage without losing too much. Urn is collected, but a fight is forced. They can't fully disengage, and TF2 Boomers still, despite losing that Walker, they've got massive control. My goodness, EP, they're still going in for more.
Yeah, Salty says, my HP is good. I don't care about the Guardians. Let's continue with the fisticuffs. Over and in. TF2 Boomers making the most out of this. They're looking for shrines right now. And I think the calculus here is they have enough time for shrines, not necessarily enough time for mid-boss. See if they overstay their welcome or not. Abrams' HP getting awfully low. Pressure in from all sides. Looks to charge on out. Elion off the goo ball, out of spot, running them on over. Sets of Bennoon says, no, Abrams, we got some unfinished business over here, right to the back. And TF2 Boomers, Dan, they overstayed their welcome, and now this might lead to them losing mid-boss. This is the classic experience for anyone's pub games if they've ever been there. You stay too long, you lose mid. Maybe Mirror Man can make a play, but it's not necessarily good odds. On the way in, Salty. Charge still looking for it. Decides Shiv is going to be the prey. Shiv, meanwhile, trying to get out Frozen Shelter. Drop Salty right now. Ducking and diving. Charge back up. 7 right at his flank. Anu able to take down Deathy. Unknown Omens getting the better of it here. Dan, Salty going to fall.
Should be able to get there, I think. Not too much here to stop them.
Yeah, 18 seconds left, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, looking good for it. The Unknown Omens off the back of that overextension from TF2 Boomers. The GGs are being called. The Unknown Omens are going to win this best of 1, and they're going to be up into the next match. Yeah, great punish, honestly, especially the viscous follow through from Elion, I have to say. Actually, like making sure to capture like 2 kills on the exit. Like that's really the conversion that you need to have happen, and it certainly did. So wow, that's going to be disappointing for Deathy's squad once again. I feel like he keeps getting pipped at the post. So probably no one knows what that means. It's an English phrase, but either way, it's an impressive performance. And I got to say, I didn't expect to see to cast a Dapper in another finals.
And Dapper, of course, it kind of brought to you by our merch nowadays, the Get Gooped player of the game, player of the match, in this case in Dapper. But yeah, I mean, Dapper was super consistent, Dan. Welcome back, everyone, to Deadlock Fight Night. North American Finals now heading your way. We just saw the Unknown Omens take out the TF2 Boomers in what was a very back and forth game, Dan. One where, you know, sometimes you go for both shrines and it blows up in your face. Well, speaking of teams, one thing of note is that when you're on top, you usually don't make a whole lot of roster changes. And Hydra Nation, the one team in NA that has had some semblance of roster stability, as we look at our roster versus screen here. And yeah, I mean, Hydra Nation, they haven't had to change things up, Dan, because, well, when you win all the time, people usually tend to be pretty content. And Unknown Omens, they haven't changed their roster in the last 15 minutes. That might be a new record for NA.
We have Hydra Nation against the Unknown Omens. Can Hydra Nation stay on top? Can it be 4 weeks in a row that they remain the kings of Deadlock Fight Night? You know, one of the things that could really be a problem for the Unknown Omens. Like, oh, go ahead.
Well, for right now, I was just you sitting here for the ambush saying, yep, I want to go in for Abrams. Parries the tower, concussive combustion. And I think for now, we'll see how deep they go in. Oh, the Mirage is there. That's a dead Abrams and a half. Well set up gank. That's going to get result in the Guardian.
Yeah, and this is another reason why Mirage at the early stages of the game as well is so strong with that TP. A lot of players gathering towards the bridge on the 3 and 4 lane at the moment. We do have Earn and Buff coming up soon, and at the same time the fight breaks out on lane. In comes the Frozen Shelter, the Affliction. I think the Affliction was blocked by the Frozen Shelter there, as right now the Unknown Omens are going to lose 2 players from this engagement, and that is not a good outcome as the Earn is coming up.
Richest player in the game right now, drops a flame dash, rotates back over. Earn, meanwhile, turned in by Hydration, under pressure from Elion, and says, I'm gonna just punch you myself. Goes in for the charge. Puts Rocker in a rough spot. Seismic slam, down on in, misses. And I think that miss was intentional, perhaps. Either way, doesn't get parried, works out for Panda Cat. It's caught in the interim. Now pressure on the Letha. Letha getting rescue beam back, topped right off. Hydration combo in progress. Sizlucky low falls. Hydra Nation finding a few picks here. Hook comes in from Pure Content. Pure Content though under the gun. Down at the same time, and now, Dan, here comes the Walker pressure from Hydra Nation, finding Sizlucky in the back. Unknown Omens down 1. It might be more. Dapper caught. And here comes the telekinesis. They're looking for more, Dan. 3 dead in Hydra Nation now with a definitive lead in this map.
They're going to try to do what they can here to try and bring this one back. But here comes Leper. He is the problem. He does get stunned. He is so tanky. He is not losing basically any health. The life leech here, the spirit leech, is out of control.
Yeah, Dan, this is a raid boss. This is no longer a player. This is a force of nature. A 3,200 HP Infernus, 29k. Who's going to tell Infernus no when he walks into the base like this and just rolls up to the patron? Unknown Omens down 2. Hydra Nation now saying, think we can end this right here, right now. Hyper Beam in the air, immediately stuffed between DMB and Lefa. Flash for Flick goes to ult people, and now Patron taking damage from all ends. Dan, this looks like the end. Unknown Omens, just no firepower to stop this assault.
Hydra Nation will pick up the first map in this best of 3 finals once again.
Now that we look at the damage here, I mean, it was pretty obvious just from the farm to begin with, but that was a game and a half for Leffa. Well, regardless, Hydra Nation now 1 map away from being the 4-time back-to-back champions of NA here at Deadlock Fight Night. Will the Unknown Omens come up with a solution? We'll see in just a little bit. It might be a new week here at Deadlock Fight Night, but Dan, it is a similar story to the past. Hydra Nation up 1-0 over the challengers, and though the last game was a lot more even than I think people might have expected coming in, it still ended up in the usual result, and a lot of that off of Leffa just turning into a tank and then some in the late game.
I was saying this during the break, like, it's really good to see how there's a lot of other NA teams that can compete against some of the best that NA has to offer. And again, we see teams be able to take advantage of whether it's Buff and Jordas over in EU or Hydra Nation over in NA. Like, you can do fairly well early game against them. You can keep up, you can be slightly ahead, but teams really need to figure out how to deal with like the macro style of like the mid game of transitioning to objectives, to transition to like jungle camps correctly, to be able to continue to keep head to head, if not stay ahead of them.
And now, Dan, we're heading into it. Will Hydra Nation finish it off and be our champions 4 times back to back? Or will Unknown Omens give us our first 3-map set here by a score and just give him HP back at the same time? But Slugfest very, very low. Taken on down by DMB. Quig, rotation, airdrop in play, going for the Talon, going, you know what, we don't want this Talon to be fed at all. Drops on in. Oh, that is some overkill and then some, Dan. But look, it makes sense. Keep the Talon down.
They are down 1 tower, so the Soul lead looks perhaps a little bit more inflated than it really is. Hello. Abrams with the charge. Oh no, he's going to get swapped though. That's perhaps the one.
Slam!
You don't want to charge, but does, with the seismic slam, get the kill anyway.
A little bit of rotation in towards lane 3. Paradox, wall, up, swap in. Haze dead, just caught again. Super clean executions by Flick. And you see it's not stopping there. Rocker on hot pursuit saying, yeah, I want a little bit of a piece of Abrams. Let's go in. Let's grab him. Charge down.
For this one with the cards, but okay. Able to escape on the Kelvins is here content. In comes the Abrams. Seismic slam. That's going to connect on DB. Can they finish him off? Yes. And that is absolutely what you want to see for Elion. Getting back into the game, getting a kill, up to 11k souls, trying to be more competitive. However, at the same time, Leffa taking down a Walker for more value.
But while they're in a holding pattern, Dan, they lose walkers. They lose progress on the map. They lose map control. They lose camps. So it all comes at a pretty terrible cost.
Absolutely. Indeed, he's going to finish off Venenu, and that's a huge problem. Leon's going to go, but so much is being lost in return. Another insane swap. Flick is honestly just such a god on Paradox. The plays are always so good.
Owl comes in more like a tickle. Patron getting burned on down. Rejuvenator still in play for Hydra Nation. And Dan, this could be the final act and the 4-peat on the way. Shot, swap, dead. Once more, Flick setting the stage on the Paradox. And you see the Patron exploding before your eyes. Hydra Nation going for the finish here and now. Unknown Omens stuck in their spawn. Last gasp here from Elion, moves on out, immediately burned down. The telekinesis in, so is the GG well played. The Patron burned on down here. Little moment krill action at the end. Leffa though drops a storm cloud and it is over. Hydra Nation, your 4-time champions of Deadlock Fight Night North America.
That's it. We're going to DQ them, get them out of here. Let's bring in some other teams so some other guys can make some money. Now, it is fantastic to see. And yet again, we're seeing why they are one of the best teams, or the best team, clearly, when it comes to North America. And honestly, as you were mentioning, ZP during the game, Flick, man, makes it look too easy. He makes me want to go play Paradox, but I know sure as hell I'll miss every one of those paradoxical swaps because I'm just terrible at the game.
And that player of the match is going to be Leffa. Honestly, this was a tough call. You easily could have given it to Flick if it was just off the last map. But the fact that you have Leffa just sitting here again, I also think the way Leffa's playing, even relative to how we've seen some of the EU games, I mean, maybe it's because Hydra Nation has so much room to work with that they can sort of let Lefa spend more time farming. But I feel like when we watched EU, we didn't quite have the looming threat of, oh god, this guy is going to get really far ahead in souls if something doesn't happen. Well, again, for those that are just tuning in, we are wrapping up here. Of course, the VOD is available, but this was the bracket, the path that the teams went on here today. We saw a new champion in EU as DMS took down the Deadlock Dudes, then finished off Pojilaya Skumbriya. Yep, Jason, say the line. But for NA, the Unknown Omens take down the TF2 Boomers and what was a very back and forth map. But Hydra Nation proving dominance, winning the 1000 once more in North America. And of course, we just went over all the reasons for that. But hey, also, other things you should check out. Quick mention, we do have some merch. You can get gooped at deadlockfightnight.com. Get a t-shirt, get a hoodie. Stuff that looks pretty cool, you know? Well, that does bring us to the end of the show tonight. Thank you, of course, Dan and Jason. Thank you, everyone on the stream. Thank you, co-streamers like Seagull that tuned on in. Thank you, Hex, who's been acting as our executive producer. And also, congratulations to Hex for surviving Florida, not getting eaten by a gator, and getting safely home today, so far as we know. But yeah, that wraps up all of it for us here tonight, Deadlock Fight Night, and we'll see you all next time.